Psst, check this out.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Back Channel. In today's episode, I want to cover a few things from my perspective as a content creator, as an advice giver, as a thought boy on Twitter, on social media, etc. But all with the guidance of how do I make you guys better within your startups and especially fundraising. So the first thing that I want to talk about, since I'm now taking the position of, I want to tell you some thoughts as a creator. I want to tell you how embarrassed I am around the last kind of like 3 months of content that has come out on my podcast, on my YouTube, et cetera, anything that is multimedia related. Because about 3 months ago, I got this new mic because I wanted a better audio experience for all of my products and all of my content. And it is a vastly superior mic relative to the Blue Yeti, which I had used since 2020. Yet I was getting worse and worse audio experience. I just realized that the Blue Yeti is what they call a condenser mic, and this Shure microphone is a much more sophisticated piece of machinery around audio visual equipment. And as such, I need to have the mic closer to me like this. I had been putting it down here to kind of frame the video a little bit better, but in so doing, created some really bad audio content. So I'm hoping this is better. I'm hoping you hear me better. I'm hoping it's got that rich, buttery feel that I love in so many podcasters' content. So that's my first thought. My second thought comes up as I react to so many people on social media as I post on LinkedIn and Twitter, and then have to field questions, reactions, etc. My one thing that I want to give to everyone, and it's a thought that I give to people as I'm doing live workshops as well, which is, first of all, make sure that you understand the context around advice that is given, as in, don't just take the soundbitey headlines or the stuff that is jammed into 240 characters on X, Twitter, and take that as tactical, follow this exactly for everyone advice. It is by definition abbreviated, incomplete, uncomprehensive, non-comprehensive. There are gaps, there are subtleties, there are nuances that will apply to every different situation. And if you don't understand that, or you don't try to tap into the context from which the creator made that, then you are going to be confused. You might be angered. You might not apply the advice very well. And so one of my biggest pieces of encouragement and coaching for people is, when looking online, use whatever people tell you as a sort of vector or an inspirational thought, and make sure you think to yourself, who is this person? How do you think they gathered that bit of advice, and why are they sharing it? And then after that, say, okay, well, if I try to understand why that piece of advice was given, well, how do I unpack the first principles behind that? And then how does it apply to me? I say this because my voice on Twitter is abrupt, because that's kind of how I want to speak on Twitter. And in a lot of ways, people will take it without thinking about the nuance behind the advice and get upset and say, well, what about this situation? Or no, that's not right. Or you're stupid, or you're wrong. And, I'm fully capable and willing to engage around that sort of reaction to my content, because I know where it comes from, and I can respond with additional nuance, and I can frame it in a way that might drive someone to a more specific application of the advice. I also want to say that while some of the stuff might come off slightly inaccurate because of how it's formatted for brevity, for responses, especially on X, like trying to get responses for the algorithm, etc., they all come from a core deep philosophy and understanding and belief in how fundraising and startups work. And so while they might be slightly off or not 100% comprehensive, they are always going to be directionally accurate. They are always going to come from a place of wanting to support founders, make you guys better. And they all come from a good place.
The founders I see that do best in company building and fundraising have a secret weapon. Their secret weapon is a community of people, of experts, of peers in the startup industry that they can ask for help from at any time, guide them through processes like fundraising. I wanted to make that easier for everyone else to have access to by building the Adamant fundraising program and community. This gives you access to 75 different training videos around the fundraising process to give you that expert starting point around how to actually execute fundraising, and then access to a community where we host live pitch deck teardowns and office hours every week to make sure that you can ask the minute questions on how your deck should be better, how you should reform your strategy, how you should answer investors who are reaching out to you that you don't know how to answer. So if you want to check that out, if you want to get the secret weapon that I think a lot of the best founders have, check out adamantfundraising.com and join us today.
So if you take that context for all of my content, I hope that you will be able to better use some of my instructions on Twitter X and LinkedIn, understand some of my more bite-sized content like the back channel, and then be able to sort through my longer form stuff, my essays, etc., and really get some educational support around the fundraising process, startups in general. The last thing I was going to say is some of this stuff, or this episode in particular, was inspired by some people getting upset by my cold email content. I've been gathering a lot of content around cold email in general because I'm about to do a mini lecture on the art of fundraising emails for my Raising Capital series of workshops. And I've been posting some stuff, really hard-hitting stuff, and people have gotten upset. It's like, but warm introductions are hard to get access to. What are you saying? Like, founders shouldn't do this and shouldn't do that. You're kind of disenfranchising founders who have a harder time or come from worse networks, etc. And so there has been some negativity, but I do also want to say that I continue to get really great positive reactions for a lot of my content. A lot of thanks, gratitude, expressions of, just warmth around the content and the support that I've been able to give through my free content. And so my last thing from a content creator's point of view is I always tell people whenever they say something nice to me, I thank them first because it feels great. And then I always encourage them to do this more often with content creators, about small and large. I think that no matter how large you get, receiving comments that are positive and thankful for the work that you do is extremely encouraging, feels really great, and helps people like me continue to push through and create more helpful content, because it can feel like you're shouting into the void. It can feel like that, oh, maybe I'm not doing the right thing, because the loudest people in the room are the people that are most upset by your content or have a contradictory point of view that they want to just get out there. So if you ever consume any sort of content from any kind of creator and you want to give them a shout out, if you want to share some thanks and gratitude, I guarantee you they will appreciate it. And I guarantee you'll get some sort of response. So thanks so much for everyone. I hope this was kind of an enlightening and still helpful episode of the Back Channel. And I'll see you next time, hopefully with continued good audio.